Hello, good evening. I think it's working. Um, my name is Tiana Nobile, and I'm thrilled to be sharing the virtual stage tonight with Ansley Moon and Arlen, and thank you to Poets in Pajamas for hosting us. I wasn't sure what to wear, so I put on my narwhal onesie. I bought this for Halloween, but because it's COVID and Halloween isn't a thing, the only person that's seen it is my partner, so I thought it would be appropriate for Poets in Pajamas. So thanks for joining me, and I'm going to read a few poems that I don't often read, just to change it up a bit. The first poem was in my chapbook, and it is a response to the ever constant question a lot of us get, which is, where are you from? I know I can get pretty fatigued by this question, and I thought, how can I answer it in a new way? So this poem is kind of my response to this question. Where are you really from? Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Fertile, Iowa. Uncertain, Texas. Hazard, Nebraska. Accident, Maryland. Why, Arizona. Hell, Michigan. Disappointment, Kentucky. Embarrass, Minnesota. Truth or consequences, New Mexico. Nameless, Tennessee. No name, Colorado. Nada, Texas. Nothing, Arizona. Thanks, Ansley, for loving my onesie. I just am really excited to show it off. So this next poem was written for my brother. A number of years ago, he underwent surgery, and I was told that one of the first things that he said while coming out of anesthesia was about me. So that's what inspired this next piece. Did you know my sister was FedExed from Korea? You say, dazed under the haze of hospital lights, your arm tethered to an intravenous drip charging like a box to numbing light. You're 25, adrift in anesthetic fog, floating through the white sea of hospital hallways, and you think of me, the living package that changed your life. On the day of my arrival, you were a month away from turning 4. While the buzz of anticipation swirled around the airport terminal, your small body perched high, anchored in the crook of our father's arm. So this is how babies are born, you thought, and everything was yellow. Scuffed linoleum tile, blur of fluorescent lights hovering above you. How you must have imagined my body rattling in the box during transport, as our mother scurried to the airport bathroom to snap my joints into place. Today we laugh about what you said. We laugh until we forget why we're laughing. So I was born in South Korea and adopted when I was 6 months old. And through writing my book, I thought a lot about this concept of naming and how we assign meaning to things based on what we call them. The title of this next poem is the name that I was given when I was in Korea, a name whose meaning and significance eluded me for most of my life. Moon Youngshin. Written on the white slip at the bottom of a Polaroid cut off by the frame, a name. Many years passed before I learned surnames come first in Korea. I rode my bicycle in circles around this reversal. For years, my skin leaped from shadow to shadow. I drank the darkness, or the darkness drank me, but what's the difference when your veins are full of haunting? One day I will walk the narrow streets of many cities full of ice, freshly frozen. I will hike through forests of windstorms newly risen. I will learn and forget the names of many trees, of tea leaves plucked too early in the season. I will orbit the earth like a moon, searching for its shadow. Where does a moon find its planet? Or is it the other way around? To be a recently hatched egg moon, curved shell pinned to the sky. I've spent my whole life in orbit of other people's light, celestial satellite in ceaseless wane. How much can you learn from a stranger's surname? A young animal crawls its way out of the womb, stretches its legs, and feels cold for the very first time. So next, one thing that I like to do in my writing is incorporate text and language from other documents, whether that be personal documentation or newspaper articles or research studies. So this next poem weaves in text from a document I found in my adoption file that was sent to my parents before I arrived in the United States to give them an update on my status. It's called Child's Pre-Flight Report. Name in full, Moon Young Shin. Date of birth, October 22nd, 1987. Name of escort, unknown. Case number, 87C-2411. Date of departure, April 2nd, 1988. Destination, unknown. Feeding/eating, she cries with hunger but knows the bottle. Sleeping habit. While lying on her side, she wraps her arms around her body. She wakes easily to rustling leaves, rain thrumming on roof tiles, and morning birds greeting the dawn. Toilet training. She moves bowels in good form once to twice a day. Speaking ability. She will learn quickly when to bite her tongue. For years, she will hold it tightly, teeth clenched. In her mouth, the bitter taste of a broken bloodline. Developmental condition. She tends to play well even alone, but cries if it's boring. Placed on stomach, she lifts her head about 90 degrees, but gets irritated when it's beyond her ability. Physical condition, 6.6 kilograms, 60 centimeters at 5 months. Her skin is strong, but prone to scarring. Character. She is rather composed and mild. Legal status. So something that's actually really interesting about citizenship is adoptees that are children that are born in South Korea and then are relinquished at birth are not citizens of South Korea. So, and then when I arrived in the United States, it took several years before I became a naturalized citizen. So there's this period of my life where I was just a citizen of nowhere, right? There's since then, Korea has kind of apologized publicly and created pathways for adoptees to get citizenship. But when you're born in Korea, and at least in the 80s, and given up, you are literally don't belong in any country. So next I'm going to read, research plays a really big part in my creative process. And while writing my manuscript, I learned about several instances of mass adoption and family separation that have occurred throughout history and which remains an active practice to this day on our border. One such instance happened at the end of the Vietnam War. As the war was ending, thousands of babies were rounded up and later given up for adoption by the United States government. At the time, they claimed the children were orphans, but it turned out many were not. In fact, many mothers were told they would reunite in America, but this never happened. The first flight out of Vietnam was called Operation Baby Lift, and it crashed soon after takeoff. And it's the title of this poem. It has an epigraph. The bucket brigade loaded the children right up the stairs into the airplane. Colonel Bud Trainer, pilot. April 4th, 1975. Skin still wet with mother's grief, I brought my baby to them, I admit it. Airlift takes off, tucked in cardboard and stowed, 2 to each seat. At 23,000 feet, systems fail. In the event of being born in a country ravaged by war, explosion. I heard rumors that mixed babies would be burned alive, retaliation for consorting with the enemy. Split cables, save, rescue, liberate, descends. I asked about the papers. How will I find her? How will we reunite in America? Skids in rice paddy. In the event their skin is soaked in gasoline. 4:45 p.m. Those who didn't fit would make the trip in the cargo area, crosses Saigon River. Under the circumstances, the evacuation became necessary. Thrashes trench, the promise of reunion too appealing to pass up, fractures in four, jam-packed flock, throng of new bones. Fuel ignites. It was no longer a choice. 50 adults, the only option, and 78 children. So I'm going to read one more poem, which is the final poem in my book. I think one thing that writing the process of writing the poems that appear in my manuscript, you know, as an adoptee, a lot of my origin story is unknown and inaccessible to me. So through writing the poems, I gave myself permission to kind of explore what it could mean to construct my own narrative or to come up with my own origin story, my own birth myth. So this poem is exactly that. It's a reimagining of how I was made. Revisionist history. The weather in Seoul in October is bright and balmy. All the hospital beds are full, and women with thick arms and bent knees, feet in the stirrups, scream in an echoing symphony. A woman with small ankles can't see beyond her bloated stomach. She keeps her eyes shut as forceps dig, doctor's hands twisting between her legs like a corkscrew pulling out the plug. It's been a busy morning, and between heaving breaths she wonders, how much longer? First the head, then the shriveled body, bright as a small sun. For the first time in her life, she sighs and means it. That's how it happens in my fantasy. The movie I watch on repeat, reimagined myth of my birth, no. I emerge from sea foam, flopping my tail fins in the Pacific froth. I washed ashore encased in a mermaid purse, crawled on all fours and learned the power of breath. No. I was stardust, an accumulation of space matter falling to earth in tiny pieces. I'm still gathering my limbs. They're scattered all over the planet. None of that is true. I was born in the airport, propelled through the gaping mouth of sliding glass doors. My father's second cousin ferried me down the stairs, my mouth bubbling with Korean consonants, eyes still wary of sight. In the video recording of my arrival, the airport light burns everything so yellow, it's purple. My grandfather's cheeks behind his glasses glow like round speckled eggs. I've watched the video so many times, it's etched like a scar. I can feel my mother's yellow tears fall purple on my cheek. My father tucks his upper lip inside his tongue. Years later, I will learn why he does this. Searching for words when the mouth is lacking, soft tears cradled in the pockets of his open eyes. What's the difference between memory told and memory burned? I was born in the womb of a stranger, my face a reflection of somebody else's shadow. If I told you that I missed you, would you believe me? Would I? Thank you for listening. I have a couple of minutes if anybody has any questions. I see some things in the chat that I can catch up on. Oh, thanks. Ansley left a link to my book. It's coming out next April. If you're interested, you can pre-order now on the website. Also, that poem, the last poem that I read, Bull City Press made a really beautiful broadside of that you can order on their website if that interests you. If anybody has any questions, if not, then I can pass it on to Arlene. See. Sorry, I'm still learning Facebook Live. Here, let me read Arlene's bio, and then she can take over. And then there will be a new link to follow Arlene's video. So, next up is Arlene Dunn. Originally from Manila and raised in East Tennessee, Arlene Dunn is interested in the intersections of poetry, nonfiction, and amplifying representation of transnational adoptees in the context of the Asian American diaspora. Arlen serves as a community outreach director for Sundress Academy for the Arts and has a background in pediatric occupational therapy. She currently resides in Knoxville. So thank you for joining me, and click on the next link to see Arlen.